Hello, I'm Fernando Meirelles, director from Brazil. I'm here in Vienna to talk about 360, a film that was shot here, mostly here, and that will open on August the 25th. Hope you like it. You'll see your beautiful city on the film. Thank you. 360 doesn't tell one story, it tells 9 stories connected and shows how the world is connected and how each choice we make can change not only our lives but the life of others. So it's a story that starts in Vienna, goes to London and then US and then Phoenix, then France, then comes back to Vienna. It's a circular story, that's why we have this name. It was written by Peter Morgan, the guy who wrote The Queen and Last King of Scotland and some great films. And we shot here, part of the film here in Vienna last year, and now we're releasing it all over. This year, I think it's the 150th anniversary of Arthur Schnitzler's birth. So the ORF asked Peter to write something on Schnitzler, but instead of adapting one of his plays, Schnitzler, Peter Morgan, he just got La Ronde, one of his plays, and used the structure. This is a structure of one story leading to the other, leading to the other. The circular structure comes from La Ronde, and also the fact that both the play and the film starts in Vienna with a prostitute. But besides that, and also in the film we talk about sex mostly, and desires and impulses, and in the play it's almost the same. But the stories are different. I think that some years ago, if you had this structure of one character leading you to the other, it would work better. Today our audience is very fast, you know. I'm sure that because we have 9 stories, in the 3rd story the audience today would guess what was going to happen, and so our circle in 360 is like a broken circle, like a cubist. So sometimes you're going this way, but then comes a character that you don't know where he's coming from, and then somebody comes back. So you don't really feel the circle, and you can't guess what's going to happen next, which is more interesting, I think, for a film. I don't know. I mean, I always liked the films that deals more with texture than with a linear story. I mean, I'm a big fan, for instance, of Robert Altman, who have done beautiful films that are not about specific characters, but like he talks about how is the country music world in Nashville, or the fashion world in Pret-a-Porter, and he tells that through several stories and characters, and I always loved that. You know, it's like an impressionistic film, because you can follow a character and create a very linear story, which is what we're used to see, or you can create several stories and create like an impression of. And for some reason, I'm always more interested in the second way of telling stories. I think my films, City of God and Blindness, are always a bit multi-plot, multi-character stories. I like that. Maybe if you want to talk about a specific subject or to show a place or a kind of universe, when you have different characters, I think you have a better picture of whatever you're talking about. Because when you have only one character, of course, the audience will be involved with that specific character, and you lose all the several sides of whatever you're talking about. So I tend to include more plots and more characters, but it's just a taste, you know. I love to watch films where I see different aspects of the same thing.
Which means that one character is not enough for you to show the variety of
yeah, because one character will see whatever he's seeing just from his perspective. So if I'm showing the police, I would love to see also the bad guy, you know, what he's thinking, and also what the guy who's crossing the road is thinking, and you know, I like to see the whole picture. And but the problem with this, actually, if you have too many characters and too many plots, and we have this problem here in 360s, is that you don't have enough time to develop the characters and to develop the plots, you know. So in this film was very tricky, you know, because I would present a character, and in 8 minutes he's gone, and you have to satisfy the audience with only 7, 8 minutes on screen. So that's a tricky thing. Of course, we know the world is the same size. Actually, it's getting smaller because we don't. It seems that mankind can't. It's not. It's occupying too much the world. But anyway, our feeling is that the world is getting smaller. And Peter Morgan again. I'm talking about him a lot because this is really his project. He lives in Vienna and he works in London, New York, and Los Angeles, and he's always going back and forth. So this world that the film shows is really small for him because he's here today, he can be in Los Angeles for the weekend and back in Vienna on Monday. And so he wanted to write something, a film about this kind of life, which happens to be my life as well. I mean, I travel a lot. I mean, on Monday I was in Paris, yesterday I was in Munich, I'm here in Vienna today, I'm having lunch in London tomorrow. And unfortunately I travel more than I like. But I think the idea was really to show this kind of life, which is very contemporary, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Not very sustainable though.
Yeah, that's right. But you don't seem to like that too much.
No, I'd rather stay at home, you know, in Brazil, I live in Brazil. But I mean, I've chosen a work that asked me to be everywhere, so here I am.
Same with me.
Well, being in Vienna is not a bad thing, though. You know, I love the city. So in this specific case, I'm very happy to. I mean, in this film, I think the highlight of the film, or at least the thing I like better in the film, is really the cast and the work of all the actors. We have in all the small parts only really big names. Some of them, of course, we know: Jude, Anthony Hopkins, or Ben Foster, but all the other characters, even the ones we don't know, are really huge stars in their home countries, like Jamel Debbouze in France, the Russian guy in the end of the film, Vladimir Vdovinchenko. It's the guy who can't walk on the streets in Moscow because he's really... And Moritz Blebrau or Johannes Chris here, who's quite known in Austria. So once I was working with so many good actors, I thought acting was the highlight of the film. So we thought that the photography should be very steady. We should use the light in a way that we could see the actors, that would favor the actors. So we don't have dark areas or people talking, you know, it's really all about acting, you know, to see what they're doing and to see their faces and to see how they react. So that was it's a very beautiful, realistic photography by Adriana Goldman. And then as a style of the film, when you start cutting the film, in the first sequence we came up with the idea of just as a test to split the screen and to see two scenes happening at the same time. And it worked, so we did it again. And after a while we decided to use a lot the idea of splitting the screen, because our story is really happening in different places. So we used a lot. It's like the theme of the cutting of the film, you know. Every time we were splitting the screen and it became like a way of cutting the film. Can we allow ourselves to do what we please? I mean, can we just go for our love, or should we repress our desires so we can? This is an old discussion, you know, Herbert Marcuse or Freud, that repression builds civilization. If you don't repress, you don't build society, you don't build a family, you don't build civilization. So if I have a family and I have a desire, I fall in love for somebody else, I have to repress my instinct so I can keep my family. And the same with the society, and the same with in the bigger scale. And so in some way the film reflects or talks about this conflict, which is a conflict that I always had. I mean, should we really always be repressing ourselves, or should... Well, in '68, the mankind decided that we shouldn't repress, we should go for free love, and it seems that, well, it's lovely, of course, enjoyable, but it didn't work out. I mean, there wasn't any family established, and the society became a bit disorganized, and So that's an interesting question. How much should we repress of ourselves, or how much we should let go? This is very present in the film. Reading, I say, well, what if this film feels like a short film festival and not like a film? And so I work hard in trying to find transitions. Sometimes it's the music, sometimes it's the image that is split. And so you have two stories, and then you just slowly move to the other one, or a plane that takes you to one place. But I always try to find interesting transitions to make the stories really connect and move from one to the other in an organic way. Because this was really the biggest problem of the script. I think there was really two traps in this project. One was this one: how can you make it not feel like a short film festival? And the other one was because the time for each story is so short that the stories wouldn't be satisfying. So I think people who watches it really should try to get the whole thing instead of trying to have, I mean, each story finished and concluded, because life, there's no conclusion in life, right? We just keep going on and on and on. There's no ending in life.
And it's a circle. I mean.
Yeah. And in the film, when we finish, we finish, complete the circle. There's another circle that is already opening, and that's how it goes. That's life. There's no ending really. Oh no! When I shoot with them, I don't respect them at all as stars. You know, I treat them like I'm treating you, and they have to face it. If you like it, you like it. If not, but they usually like to be treated as, you know. I don't treat, oh, Mr. Jude Lord, Mr. No, just Tony, come here and do it. You know. But I usually, if you ask me, I prefer to have unknown actors in the films. I've worked with known actors because I was asked by producers, so we need somebody to put in the poster, on the trailers. But if I could choose only by myself, I would really work with unknown faces usually. But in this project was the opposite. I wanted to use known faces because, as I was saying, we have such a short time to establish a connection between the character and the audience, that I felt that if I had some known actors, this would help the audience to connect. Like if we're here in this, the first scene of the film in a bar in Vienna, there's a lot of unknown people, and then in the middle of these people you see Jude. I'm sure that immediately, just because it's Jude Law, the audience will say, ah, that's the guy I want to follow. And then you go there and you tell his story. If I hadn't had Jude, it would take me more time to get the audience involved with that character, which is quite boring, by the way. I mean, he's a very average guy, and so the fact that I have a known actor that brings his persona, and this, I think, helps me speed up the time and make this connection with the audience.
I think that's a great strategy. Working with known guys. You know, I just use you because you're famous, because you get me faster into the story. It's great. I love that.
but it's true. It's true. And it was really a strategy. You know, I thought about it, and even the actors that we don't know in the film, we don't know in my country or in Austria, but the Russians will know, the French. Like in the French poster, you have Jamel. In each country, we have a different poster with their own. Like in Brazilian poster, we have Jude Law, Anthony Hopkins, Rachel, and Maria Flor, who's a big star. That's our poster, you know. So this is also useful to sell the film. A film is an industry. I mean, in this film here, I mean, there's a lot of people putting a lot of money. They spent like $15 million. It's not my film. If I want to be completely free and subjective and do my work, I write a poem, you know, I draw, I paint. But if I'm doing a film, I mean, I have responsibilities with the distributor, with the investors, with the actors involved. It's all about compromising and trying to do what you plan to do, but you have to deal with different forces.